For the Education, Environment, and Sustainability Committee meeting today, Wednesday, December 3rd, 2014. Can we have a roll call, Madam Clerk?
Calling the roll, Ms. Simon.
Here.
Mr. Hairston.
Here.
Mr. Germana.
Here.
Mr. Shrine. Mr. Shrine is absent at the moment. Ms. Connolly. Ms. Connolly is absent at the moment. There is a quorum.
Thank you. Any public comment related to the agenda?
No, Madam Chair, no one is signed in. But also like the record to reflect that council members Miller, Greenspan, and Conwell are in attendance.
Okay, and we have our minutes from the last meeting, November 5th. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So move.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, minutes approved. So we're going to move into our agenda. The first item involves the Veteran Service Fund. Can you read it for the record when you get to your seat?
Resolution number 2014-0264, a resolution determining the services and programs that shall be provided and funded from the Veteran Services Fund in 2014, authorizing payments to various providers in the total amount of $241,867.20 for said services and programs for the period ending 12/31/2015, authorizing the county executive to negotiate and execute any necessary agreements, contracts, and other documents, or other documents for same, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Okay, so we have Councilman Greenspan, who's the sponsor of this particular resolution, and ask him to comment on it.
Great, thank you, Madam Chair, and I appreciate the chair holding this piece of legislation till this meeting. If my colleagues will remember, this action stemmed from the return of Veteran Service Commission money. Last year was the first year in which we acted upon this. But in the past, and just to be brief, all 88 counties have Veteran Service Commissions, and by state law, we have to fund them. And any money that is unspent is sent back to the county, and it can be used at the county's discretion. And prior to 2013, all 88 counties in the state put the money in the general fund and used it however they saw fit for any purpose. This body in this county took the lead, and we are the only county in the state that has dedicated this money to be repurposed back towards veterans and veterans-related issues. The issue is very clear as far as the state law and how it's written. The state law is written in such a way that it states that the money the Veteran Service Commission receives has two primary focuses. Number one, to assist veterans in navigating through the VA system, but also to provide local assistance to veterans, but only individual veterans, not veterans organizations that service veterans. Our use of this money is undefined, meaning that we have the opportunity to reappropriate this money to organizations that service veterans, and that's what we did last year. Last year, the amount of money we received was around $750,000. And that money, to the best of our ability as far as to calculate the amount of veterans and families that have been assisted, is north of 6, approaching 7,000 veterans and their families. And that's impactful because those are veterans and their families that would not have received services had this council not saw the need to pass legislation to dedicate the funds back to veterans. So here we sit with the 2014 piece of legislation. The funds available for distribution are significantly less, and it's less primarily due to the fact that the money that's provided to the Veteran Service Commission is determined based on the millage rate. We saw through the reappraisal a decline in revenue to the Veteran Service Commission. So the money available this year in total is just over $302,000 versus $745,000 was the number the year before. Our legislation was very specific that 20% of the money was to go to educational purposes at Tri-C and CSU, which that money has already been appropriated. We did that a few months ago. The remaining money, the $241,000, is being recommended through staff with the input from the County Veteran Service Commission to various organizations. And although with few exception, the amounts received are less than, actually only in one case, is it the same amount as they received in 2013. And in all other cases, it is significantly less or less than was requested from the Veteran Service Commission due to the fact that the numbers are different. So I have a document, I don't know in the legislation, it spells out who will be receiving this money. I have a document here. Let me just check real quick. It does. So within the resolution, $70,000 will go to MHS, $30,000 to Eden. The Legal Aid Society will receive $40,000. United Way through their 211 hotline, $55,000. Towards Employment Career Pathway Services, $10,000. Joseph's Home, $16,867.20, and the Fisher House, $20,000. And that in itself, combined with the 2 awards to Tri-C and CSU, comprised the $302,334 that was remitted back to the county from the Veteran Service Commission. I do have one caveat in this, and I may make an amendment either today or in council. The intent of this money, when it's appropriated to the Veteran Service Commission, is to be spent on veterans in that fiscal year. And obviously any money that they have left is sent back to the county. I feel certain that of the appropriation amounts that I've outlined, except for the Fisher House, that money will go towards veterans in the current year. As we recall, and I wish Councilmember Schron was here as being a big advocate for the Fisher House itself is in the midst of a capital campaign in order to raise capital to build a Fisher House. And my thoughts on, I don't in theory have an issue with appropriating money to start the county's contribution towards the Fisher House. However, I would recommend that we put some type of sunset provision in there that if after X period of time the Fisher House does not come to fruition, that money be returned back to the Veteran Service Commission pool to be redistributed at a future date. The reason is, if it takes them 15 years or 20 years to raise the money, I don't want that money sitting there waiting. We know we've got veterans that are in need. So either I'll make the amendment in full council when I've had a chance to work with staff and have it in writing. But I would urge, I can't vote on this in this committee, but I urge my colleagues to support this, understanding I'll come forward with an amendment to put some type of sunset provision on the Fisher House funds, which will give them ample time to ramp up, but should they be unsuccessful, we have an opportunity to redirect that money towards veterans in the future.
Okay, so maybe we should hold this, and after discussion, if we want today, just hold it and wait for the amendment at the council floor, or pass it out of committee with an anticipation with an amendment coming.
I would recommend, and I believe in talking with staff, this is something we should act upon. Since we only have one more meeting this year, we should act upon this at our next council meeting, so second reading suspension, so the money can be at least appropriated in this current fiscal year. I'll have the amendment ready for a presentation on the floor at our December 9th meeting.
Councilman Germano?
If you're ready for a motion.
Well, sure. I just discussion on this, that's fine. And I can see that Cleveland Municipal Court did not use the funds for that year. However, there's indication in this legislation that they will be expending it next year. So we have a sunset in here about those funds. The land bank funds that we passed it became a revolving loan fund at the land bank, so that's going really well. So they don't need the money that's being recycled there at the land bank, and so I think the program went really well. Thank you. Is there less money as well because of the new leadership and expectation that we might be getting less now?
No, we're not seeing necessarily a reduction, dollar for dollar reduction in expenditures. It's just the revenue's less.
Okay.
So whereas, they're still spending roughly the same amount, but the revenue received is less.
Although they're trying harder.
They're trying. I believe there's a significant effort. We've been very bold in encouraging them to reach out more. I believe that they've heard our message, and they're working hard. The issue is the legislation. The ORC is so restrictive that we have this money back.
Okay. So with that, is there discussion or just ready to move?
I had a question. Madam Chair, and maybe Councilman Greenspan can answer this question. How do we determine the different amounts for each organization?
Sure, and I appreciate that. So the Veteran Service Commission, since they're the ones primarily or closest to the veterans and their specific issues, they came back with various recommendations for us, and then through staff analysis and various additional conversations with the Veteran Service Commission, and I believe, and I'm looking additional with the organizations themselves, we're able to determine, and maybe Mr. King can come forward as one of the determiners of the recommendation to council.
Thank you, Councilman Greenspan. As Councilman Greenspan indicated, we did make our staff recommendation on the basis of both the recommendation from John Rice, the Executive Director of the Veteran Service Commission, who sent us a memo recommending certain institutions, as well as we solicited and received requests on the council website for sort of short informal proposals as to what the request was and who would be and how that money would be spent within that organization. We had some familiarity from last year. We had allocated some money to, again, the Office of Homeless Services, legal aid, and the United Way 211 program. And so we had a pretty good idea of what their needs were, and they gave us an indication with the understanding that there was less money in the Veteran Service Fund this year of what they would need to continue that program, or at least, in some form or another. And then we had a couple new programs that submitted proposals, and we broke down what we thought in terms of a proportional amount based on the available funds, what they could actually use to provide services to veterans, even if they didn't get the full amount that they requested. So I hope that answers your question.
It does. Are any of the new programs that individuals visit our website, have any of them been funded this time?
Yes, two programs funded this year that weren't funded last year are the Joseph's Home, which is about medical care in transitional housing for veterans, and then Towards Employment, which the county is, I'm sure, very familiar with from workforce development. It's about job development and job training.
And is that 10,000? Is that what they requested, or that was based on what we were able to provide?
Towards Employment requested 15,000. We were able to recommend 10,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Sure.
Thank you. To my right, who? Council Miller?
Madam Chair, I don't get to vote on this in committee, but I do think the council and staff did a very good job of allocating limited resources. So I'd like to ask that my name be added, if I could.
Sure. I'll add my name.
So can you add my name as well? Thank you.
Okay. Councilman Germana, did you want to make a motion?
I move that we send this to the full council under second reading suspension.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, this will be on our agenda for next meeting with an anticipation of an amendment.
And I want to thank the committee and Mr. King, if you can start writing that amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next set of items are very exciting. We get these every year, and I want to hear about actually what happened last year for the committee with the results of the grants. So if we can start the series, Madam Clerk, with the Clean Ohio Fund applications.
Madam Chair, do you want me to read all of the items? Okay. Resolution number 2014-0277, a resolution supporting an application for funding under the Clean Ohio Fund Green Space Conservation Program available through the Ohio Public Works Commission on behalf of West Creek Conservancy for the conservation of ecologically significant areas along the Baldwin Creek corridor and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective. Resolution number 2014-0278, a resolution supporting an application for funding under the Clean Ohio Fund Green Space Conservation Program available through the Ohio Public Works Commission on behalf of West Creek Conservancy for the conservation of ecologically significant areas along the West Creek Reservation Phase 4 and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective. Resolution number 2014-0279, a resolution supporting an application for funding under the Clean Ohio Fund Green Space Conservation Program available through the Ohio Public Works Commission on behalf of City of Bedford Heights for the conservation of ecologically significant areas along the Solon Road Preserve and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective. Resolution number 2014-0280, a resolution supporting an application for funding under the Clean Ohio Fund Green Space Conservation Program available through the Ohio Public Works Commission on behalf of Tinkers Creek Watershed Partners for the conservation of ecologically significant areas along the Bear Creek and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective. Resolution number 2014-0281, a resolution supporting an application for funding under the Clean Ohio Fund Green Space Conservation Program available through the Ohio Public Works Commission on behalf of Cuyahoga County Department of Public Works for the preservation and restoration of natural open space within Stage 3 of the Towpath Trail Extension in connection with the Tremont Point Preserve and Greenway Project and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective. And resolution number 2014-0282, a resolution supporting an application for funding under the Clean Ohio Fund Green Space Conservation Program available through the Ohio Public Works Commission on behalf of Western Reserve Land Conservancy for the conservation of ecologically significant areas along Lakeshore Boulevard in the village of Bracknell and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Thank you for reading all of those. So let's begin. Who's going to come forward, at least with regard to the first item or any of the items? Okay.
Hi, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Thank you for considering the resolutions of support for the Clean Ohio program. I am Allison Ball from the Planning Commission, Cuyahoga County Planning Commission, and we coordinate the Natural Resource Assistance Council, which is the council that reviews and evaluates the applications. So, I was going to say you wanted an update on last year's programs, and they all passed and got funding. We have several that did not come through committee because the metro parks and community municipalities that don't extend beyond their borders and are sponsored by the municipality do not have to come in front of county council. So we had 9 projects, and that's up on our website, and we can forward that to the committee for the update.
So just a little on the background on these Ohio Clean Fund grants. These are, you need the support from the council body, the county in support of these, and we don't support any one above the other, and it's
Right.
just across the board support, and we hope that at least one or all will get recognition for the
Yes,
money.
last year was a very fortunate.
Highland Heights got the 12 acres,
yes.
and that was exciting.
The county council resolutions of support are statutory requirement as part of the Clean Ohio program and is determined by the Ohio Revised Code, and that's section 164.23. This year, there is a special provision. Projects that do not have the required resolutions will be deemed incomplete and not eligible for evaluation. So it's really important that these get passed before the applications are due. They are due January 9th, 2015. And we have $3.4 million allocated for this is the 9th round. And so that's what we have allocated for, to review and rank the projects. So.
Do you just briefly want to describe the projects? Would that be you?
Well, I
Allison,
thought it
or-
would let the.
Okay, the stewards of the.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, great.
So, thank you.
May I ask one overall question?
Sure.
It's as to the total amount being requested in each of in the total of the projects here.
Oh, I didn't do the math of the total of all that's being requested. And there's other applications that are coming in. So the total request, we'll really find out in January 9th when we have all the applications. These projects get ranked, they get scored and ranked by the NRAC committee. And the ones that add up to the 3.4 million, that's how they get funded, is based on their rank. So there are some years where the projects will fall under, and not get the funding.
Well, you're saying that the total that the state is making available is 3.4 million?
Yes.
If each of are there 7 projects here? Is that how many?
You have 6 projects in front of you.
Okay. If each of the 6 projects were funded at the level that they're requesting, how much of the 3.4 million would be taken up in these 6 projects?
The resolutions have the numbers in them.
Okay.
It's just not on the summary.
And I didn't expect that question or do the math, but I can do it and send it to you. But again, there are other applications that don't require a county council resolution. So the total of funds requested may even exceed the total of funds that you see in front of you in these resolutions.
And I'm presuming that there's applications being made from all over the state, and the 3.4 million is a statewide figure, or is it regional?
No, it's by the 19 districts. This is District 1, and it follows the issue 1, the District 1 Public Works Integrating Committee. So the same districts for the integrating committees are assigned to the Clean Ohio program.
Okay, thank you.
So you're welcome.
Yeah, so all the numbers are there, and when the parties stand up to speak to each resolution, they can identify what the request would be. So, thank you. Come on up. Okay, so this would be Resolution 0264, I'm sorry, 0277, West Creek?
Yes, it would be,
Okay.
my name is Derek Schaefer with West Creek Conservancy, and this would be for the first 2 resolutions. The first one is along Baldwin Creek, which is in the city of Parma, and the total request is actually in your packet. I think it says $250,000. It's been renegotiated as of today to about $110,000. And the acreage is about 4 acres less. It had originally around 21 acres and 2,000 feet of stream. It's about 15, 16 acres at this point, and 110,000 total request. So and that's a significant reach along Baldwin Creek, and that's a distressed watershed tributary to the Rocky River. It's in the far corner of Parma. It's the only stream in the Rocky River watershed that goes through the city of Parma. So that'll be our request for the Baldwin Creek corridor. And then the second resolution is essentially the extension of West Creek Reservation, which was basically built by support with the Clean Ohio Green Space Fund. And that park is now over 350 acres in the city of Parma, the 16th Cleveland Metro Park Reservation. They took it over in 2006, built the Watershed Stewardship Center, and now we're working on the extension on the southern leg of it to basically connect where the park ends to Pleasant Valley, Broadview, and make multiple prong connections, connecting 2 different schools and 2 major roadways. And this is a larger acquisition, and it's probably going to be more around 485, not 450, and those numbers fluctuate a little with determining the last minute negotiations. So those are our 2 requests.
Questions?
Yeah, could you just kind of give me a thumbnail on exactly what do? You fix up the paths, or you fix up the land, or?
The Baldwin Creek Corridor project is simply acquisition. So it'll just be the pure acquisition and preservation of 15, 16 acres and 2,000 feet of stream. And then we don't really do anything with it. We leave room for enhancement and restoration at a later time. But we utilize the funds solely for acquisition on that project.
Okay.
For the West Creek project, it is again acquisition of multiple properties north and south of the current reservation, extending the greenway and the park system. We are not using any of the green space funds for actual restoration. We usually try to find additional funds to match that for restoration. This is one of the larger pots in the state of Ohio that is specifically for Cuyahoga County and District 1 for acquisition, so we try to utilize that to our advantage.
And so then who owns the title to the real estate? The Watershed Conservancy? Or
West Creek Conservancy will.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Chuck Germana?
On the resolution 0277, it's currently at 250. Should we amend this to 110? I mean, would that help if it's less amount, maybe a greater chance that they would include this?
It is a very competitive grant. It'll fluctuate in the last couple minutes, so it might be 110, 120, depending on who's paying for closing costs and those external costs when it comes down to the wire. So if we amended it to say 125, that would be okay in our eyes, because it won't be higher than 125.
I noticed that on all of these, it's pretty round numbers.
Yes.
I'm wondering if the legislation should say a not to exceed amount.
That probably makes sense.
Do you have a feeling?
I don't
on
know what's going to be helpful in it.
Yeah.
We were successful last time, and I think you just need a resolution. It's
Right.
just, what we're doing is simply just ratifying and our resolution in writing, saying we support this, and, right?
Yes.
It's not so much, that we're pinning down numbers. It's just a question of we support this as a council body, I think.
And we're trying to give the best number we can. I mean, sometimes a project number can jump really quick and dive really quick. And I wouldn't want us to be pigeonholed, but we're trying to give the best cost estimate to what we have available at this point.
For future, perhaps that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
We can say not to exceed, but I don't think we need to go through an amendment process. It won't impact the ultimate, goal of what we're trying to accomplish.
Correct.
Okay.
But
In this case, Madam Chair, asking for 125 instead of 250, if that's all it's going to require, I think we should probably amend it.
You can make a motion.
I move we amend to, from 250 to 125,000.
On which resolution?
That's 0277.
A second.
Favor?
Aye.
Aye.
What'd you say? 110, 125?
125. I'd like to add my name to this as well.
For you, right?
Yes.
Okay, so, okay,
That would be 0277 and 0278.
okay, so Madam Clerk, with the amendment, we need to, promptly get that, we need to bring it to the full council anyways. Okay, any questions? So we need a motion then that the amended ordinance, which was 0277, as amended, be moved to the next full council meeting under second reading suspension.
So moved.
So, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so resolution 2014-0277 as amended will be on the agenda at our next council meeting. And any questions or discussion on 0278? Okay, so do I have a motion to move that to the next full council meeting under suspension, second reading?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so thank you very much.
Thank you for your
Good
consideration.
luck.
thank you.
Okay, so we've already read 0279, and who will come to speak on its behalf? Hi.
Good afternoon. My name is Sarah Risner, and I'm with the Western Reserve Land Conservancy. And I'm here actually speaking on behalf of 0279 and 0282, if we can do them both together. So 0279 is a request on behalf of the City of Bedford Heights to acquire approximately 20 acres along Solon Road. It's a critical piece of property as it will connect a city-owned park, potentially with the Cleveland Metro Parks Bedford Reservation to the south. So we're working very closely with the City of Bedford Heights for this acquisition strategy to provide additional open space and recreational amenities to the community. The total request is approximately $350,000. The property is significant from a natural resource perspective as it has a tributary to Tinkers Creek, and we're working closely with the Watershed Group and some other partners on this project.
Any questions? Is this most of it natural space?
Exactly. So it's currently vacant land. It's zoned industrial adjacent to city-owned land on either side. The City of Bedford Heights Land Bank owns property to the west and to the east. The land is zoned industrial to the west and residential to the east. So it would provide the city the opportunity to have control of the entire block, potentially create a larger open space opportunity there and some wellness opportunities, corporate wellness opportunities to engage some of the industrial community in the area.
The property's naturally situated now. Is there a vision that would be disrupted with these kind of amenities? If we have natural, sensitive green space, is there a vision that they're going to come in and cut down these trees so they can build playpen, you know,
Sure.
some
So
gym.
the Clean Ohio restrictions is part
Yeah.
of the application process. We have to commit to the restrictions set forth by the Ohio Public Works Commission, which I think passive recreation is the language used in the code. So they won't be able to build extensive recreational amenities. So we're looking at trail enhancements is what the city envisions.
Any questions? Councilman Tamara?
Is this a matter of putting conservation easements on these properties when they're purchased?
Correct. So the Land Conservancy would hold a conservation easement on the property. Clean Ohio has certain restrictions that doesn't necessarily require a conservation easement per se, but there are restrictions in place, but the Land Conservancy will hold a conservation easement.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so without any further discussion, I'll move that Resolution 0279 be moved to the next full council meeting under second reading suspension. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so this will be on the agenda, I think on the 9th. And the next item was 8.2, you said?
Correct. So I'm here on behalf of the Land Conservancy, who will be the applicant on a Clean Ohio application to acquire 5 acres in the village of Bratnall. This is a significant property as it's just south of an existing preserved property along Lakeshore Boulevard and adjacent to the Barbara Bird Bennett Cleveland Metropolitan School District facility there to the east. So we are looking to create open space. It's been ongoing for sale. It's slated currently for 5 to 7 homes. There's some natural resource significance on the property and some topography issues. And so I think collectively we agree that conservation is the best use of this property. There's very limited opportunity to increase opportunities for open space within the village of Bratnall. And so the vision would be passive recreation for the community.
Any questions? Okay, without further discussion then, I would also move that item 0282 be moved to the next full council meeting under second reading suspension. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck. So our next item then is 80, correct?
Hello, everybody. My name is Babette Gauda. I'm with the Tinkers Creek Watershed Partners, and today we are discussing the project that is actually in Warrensville Heights, and it's an opportunity to preserve the riparian area of 515 linear feet of stream along Bear Creek. So Bear Creek is a major tributary stream to the Tinkers Creek. Tinkers Creek, as many of you know, is the largest tribute to the Cuyahoga River. And this is one of the projects that was addressed in our watershed action plan, which is state endorsed. And so we've been working with the property owner to acquire this land so that we can protect it into the future. And it would be 4.5 acres in that area.
No questions? Okay. Well, good luck. We're going to also, I'll make a motion to move 0280 to the full council under second reading suspension. Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so good luck, and this will be on our agenda on the 9th.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hello, Stan.
Good morning.
Hi.
Good afternoon. Stan Kozaleski with Public Works. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Good. I'm here to talk about the request from the Towpath Trail Partnership Committee for Stage 3 of the Towpath Trail. This section is the northern half of Stage 3 of the Towpath Trail.
This is, just to interrupt, this is 0281.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry.
Towpath, no, don't worry.
Yes, we're looking at acquiring approximately 20 acres. To give you a reference point, if you're around West 7th Street where you come on to 490, that area right there, kind of to the northeast and moving north towards West 3rd Street and Lift Bridge, it'll encompass that piece of property that's owned by CMHA, which is about 10 acres, and then along the corridor along Quigley down at Paper Street of West 4th, there's about another 10 acres that are owned by CSX Railroad. Our request is for about $800,000 that will be used to leverage for right-of-way acquisition and construction costs. About $2 million of federal money, NOACA CMAQ money that is committed for this project in 2016, and about $100,000 of other funding we've received to match it. So that's how this cost of about 2.7 million will be played out. We have received funds for this these funds for another piece of the project down on Scranton Road that we just opened this summer. We did purchase that property through a grant, and that's kind of a piece of the trail that you'll see as we go through this industrial corridor. So I'm here to answer any questions that you have.
Any questions? So some of this is acquisition and right-of-way? It's
Correct.
a combination?
Yes, there's about $300,000 for acquisition of the CSX parcels. The CMHA parcels are being donated to the project, and then the balance is used for construction of the whole piece together.
And you do a lot of restorative work on the trail
Yes.
once it's,
Yes, it's all passive recreation, so that's why we're trying, instead of just doing a trail, we're trying to have a little bit of a green space between. So you have the industrial valley down on the lower side, and then a residence up on the top, so it'll clean out that area that gets dumped in a lot. That's the intent of the project. It'll green it up.
okay,
Madam Chair, can I have my name added?
sure. Okay, any further discussion? We'll move this, I'll make a motion that we move item 0281 to the full council under second reading suspension.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so all these items will be on the next council meeting. Keep us posted. We'll keep our eye out. When will you hear back about these projects? Somebody? April. Okay.
The applications will be submitted in January, and February and March will be the review, evaluation, and scoring period. And then they'll be submitted to OPWC in April, by April 30th is the deadline. And then OPWC will award the grants after that. So, great, thank you again.
Yes.
If we could have Janine add my name to all these clean fund resolutions.
Nothing from Euclid Creek, Friends of Euclid Creek this time? No? Okay. Okay, thank you. So we'll move on to the next item, which is item that needs to be read, 0036.
Ordinance number 2014-0036, an ordinance amending section 804.01 of the Cuyahoga County Code by adding a new section 804.01D to establish a post-secondary small business internship component to the educational assistance program and renumbering subsequent sections.
So this is Councilman Miller's ordinance that he's created. Do you want to speak to that?
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Chair and my colleagues. This ordinance would create a third component to the County Council's post-secondary education program, which has been created in response to the charter language. And this program was discussed yesterday in the Committee of the Whole in Finance and Budget, and money was allocated for this purpose. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Khalil Seren for his leadership and expertise in taking what was a very general concept in my mind and working it into something that's specific and practical. Co-op intern programs have long been an interest of mine since my time in the legislature. These programs, number one, they help businesses. Number two, they help students gain real-world experience, and number three, they help students form relationships with local businesses that often help encourage students to stay and live and work in Cuyahoga County after their education is completed. As you know, higher education is highly subsidized, and we don't want to subsidize our young people's education and then have them go who knows where all over the country. One of the problems with co-op intern programs is that that businesses, and particularly small businesses, often don't know how to use their interns effectively. And so we came up with the concept of developing a small business oriented program of using an intermediary, and we particularly had Cozy in mind, but this is going to be competitively bid. And the idea is that the intermediary would develop a half a dozen or so specific projects that almost all small businesses need. Things like developing a social media presence or improving their website capability. And so the student participants, which would be at the college level, would participate in completing a specific project as opposed to just being assigned to odds and ends that often happens with intern programs. And so the idea is to run it in the coming year as a pilot program for $100,000, and after we've run the program for 1 year, we'll have an opportunity to see what kind of tweaks or modifications need to be made based on experience. So I believe it's a good way to provide a niche role in the important area of co-op intern programs in Cuyahoga County, and to provide educational development and help small business. And I do believe that it can be supportive in working with inclusion goals, since we know that a large proportion of the small businesses are either minority or female owned. So it can accomplish a number of purposes. So that's what the program is, and I ask for your support.
Okay, so I'd like to entertain questions from the committee members.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we have the scholarship funds that we give out scholarships. This would give a stipend to the person while they're working in this internship program. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct. It would provide a stipend to the student for the purpose of doing the project that the intern program develops, and also would help pay for the costs of working with the businesses and the colleges and the students and setting up the program.
So the business would be enhanced to the extent that the person is working there basically for them for free.
No, the program is designed to require that the businesses would also put some skin in the game yet to be determined.
Okay, and then we need some administrators to figure out like which businesses and what the people are going to be doing and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And we can do this for $100,000 a year?
Yes, we can.
And for about how many students?
We don't know yet. And I think, as I presented yesterday in Finance and Budget, I think the most important evaluation question in the first year of the program is how many students can we serve for the dollars available, and is it enough students for the program to be cost effective?
So what is the administrative cost? What percent will the administrative cost be? Do you have an idea?
Khalil, can you give us any help on that?
My understanding is that when there will be some process by which the council will determine who the administrator is, and through that process, it can either be an informal or a formal RFP or an RFQ. If you went the RFP route, then those sorts of concerns would be addressed in the RFP, and if you went through an RFQ process, then you would accept the qualifications and then negotiate that sort of thing with the eventual administrator. So this is something that they would have to show us what their administrative costs would be, and then council could determine whether or not that deal works and whether or not it's cost effective for us to have the desired outcome while spending as little as possible, I assume, on
No,
administration.
I'm confused. Do we have to hire somebody to administer this program?
Well, that would be, that's the sort of the same model that we used with the other component. The College Now is the administrator of the scholarship and mentoring program. And so they take a certain amount off the top to administer the program and do the things that we simply don't have the capability of doing. And so
So
in
I have
this
a
case,
company making widgets, and you send me an intern, and I teach the intern how to make widgets or whatever, or is that?
not exactly. Under this model, the intern would actually be working possibly in a collaborative way with other interns on a specific project, but they wouldn't be necessarily reporting directly to the company that is engaged with the intermediary. So the intermediary would manage the interns, because for the most part, small businesses don't have the capacity to manage an intern and make it an educational process in addition to a work process. And so, and that's been generally the difficulty in getting interns placed with startups or small businesses, is that they just don't have the expertise in working with an internship program. So they don't manage interns. And so this administrator would manage the interns and develop the projects with the businesses that the interns would be working on. So it'd be, an internship has to be an educational process as well.
Councilman Germana, looks like you have a question. Were you done, Council President, for now?
Yeah, I'm still
I
confused
think what
about-
we're going to do, we're not going to vote this out. Or this is the first discussion on this, and it's sort of, I think it's something we really need to explore about cost benefit. And from my standpoint, I'll let my colleagues ask questions, but really, is this going to ensure that the students get employed after their internship anyways? If it's a small business that can't afford or to deal with these interns to begin with, is it really going to, end up with the goal to keep them at this business? I
Well,
don't know.
would say I think you're absolutely right that it would not ensure that a student would definitely gain employment as a result of this. But I think we have enough research that shows that experience is sometimes much more important than the credential in certain ways. And if a student can gain experience in addition to the credential that they're working toward, that certainly helps a great deal toward eventual employment.
Okay, so we're subsidizing experience which is fine. I mean, I understand. And CIA, I think, needs to be a big piece of this because they have a lot of creativity. It sounds like a lot of this is web and creative.
Well, some of and it would be variable, but I know that thinking about it, it was marketing, possibly design,
Right.
and that sort of thing would be a focus,
Okay.
but not
Councilman-
necessarily the only focus. I'm sorry.
No, Germana and Greenspan then.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Khalil, are these internships, is this just a very temporary, because you're saying project related? Well, let me tell you where I have my confusion about this. Okay. My youngest son, Greg, went to Marquette University in Milwaukee in the College of Engineering. And one of the reasons that he picked that school was because of the co-op program that they have built right into the engineering program. About 45% of the students go through a co-op program where they work a term, go to school a term, work a term. Now, no jobs are guaranteed, but they get, how do you want to say, full experience in doing their particular engineering program. My son happened to be mechanical. As it ended up, it was great because he stayed in Milwaukee and got married in Milwaukee. And so it was good for keeping the people in the area. I'm just wondering, what about our colleges? Do they have co-op programs? And how is this needed? Where does this fill in a gap of what the colleges are doing?
Sure. As Councilman Miller stated, the gap that we're trying to fill, colleges do have internship programs, and they place students with companies and nonprofits, and various funding agencies in the area also have internship programs. Generally, the difficult lift is matching smaller enterprises with internships. And the difficulty arises because in general, there's no internship coordinator at a small business. So you won't find someone with expertise in dealing with student interns at a small business because they're generally focused on running their business. So in this case, we would fill the gap. Well, not only, it's also difficult sometimes, I think things are changing a little bit now, but it's difficult sometimes to find a paid internship, which sometimes just prices lower income students out of the market for gaining these experiences because they need to work, because they need to survive. And so that the stipend would fill a gap, but then in addition, the matching with small businesses would also fill a different gap. It's similar in some way to the Cleveland Foundation's internship program. The Cleveland Foundation is actually the one managing the internship program. They're working with and housed in nonprofits in the area to complete a particular type of project or to work in that nonprofit for a period of time, but they're actually being paid by the Cleveland Foundation and they're being managed by the Cleveland Foundation. And so the intern has to report to the Cleveland Foundation about the progress of their project and report on the success and the experiences of their project. And they are, so that the Cleveland Foundation works with the nonprofit management and with the intern to make sure that this is a valuable experience for the intern and for the nonprofit. And in this case, we would be fulfilling or contracting with an administrator to fulfill that role, sort of as the go-between and the manager for the internship program on behalf of the small businesses and making sure that it's a valuable experience for the student. Now, in terms of the time frame, this is also something that's variable, but in the initial conception of this program, it would be similar to sort of a summer internship, could be 8 to 10 weeks. Enough time to start and finish a small project, not one that would last a year or something like that, but a smaller project. And since of the way that college semesters are planned out, it provides that break between semesters. A student can work on this internship and then go back to school in the fall if need be. Additionally, then the stipend would be based on the time frame as well. There may be some room for expanding that to different semesters, but that's, I think, up to council to decide in terms of the contract with the administrator and the proposal that the administrator would bring to the table.
Madam Chair, I guess another question is, this can only apply to college and not high school?
Yes, this is a college or very recently graduated program as it's designed. And I didn't imagine that this would begin in terms of operation until toward the middle to end of I guess it's winter semester. So with an eye towards summer for the program actually starting and interns working on a project. So I don't know I don't want to presume, Councilman Miller, but I didn't imagine that this needed to be rushed and this could be amended as you saw fit, I'm sure.
I'm still vague on what you mean by a project.
Well, for instance, if there is a small business that is seeking to expand their exports into another country, export to another country, then you could potentially get business students and law students working on, a feasibility study to show them how they would do that.
So they would like sort of produce a paper or work
Or a
on it.
plan, or provide some measure of research and create step-by-step process for that business to do that. And that's just
And
something
so
I
it'd be two
thought
or
of
three
off the
students
top of my
working
head.
together?
It could potentially be students working together on a project.
And then we would pay those students to do this for the summer.
Correct.
Councilman Greenspan.
Great, thank you. I was just doing some research. There was, to refresh my memory, there was a bill that just passed the General Assembly, House Bill 107. House Bill 107 is geared towards high school students. It's a career exploration grant program, internship program. Career exploration internship program. And what it does fundamentally is it takes students while they're in high school where they may have an interest in, say, engineering, and they provide funds to the business to offer an internship to that individual. So if they're interested in engineering and they go through the internship program, it either reaffirms their interest or they say, this is not something, it's not what I thought it was. The state appropriated $1 million for this program. I was just reading how the grants are awarded, and they're awarded to the businesses, not to the individual. And the award is equal to 50% of the wages that would be paid for that intern for the year, or $5,000, whichever is less. So the lesser of the two. And I know I talked to, I don't think I had a bill number for you at that time, but tried to steer this towards that. If our intent here is to do something like that, and I don't know, I just talked to Mr. Miller about this in the committee meeting. If the intent is to kind of continue that program into a post-secondary education environment, I would argue that the groundwork has somewhat already been laid by the legislature, and maybe we model the program similar to that. I would think that providing assistance to the individual, although to the student is one avenue, I would also argue that the business is taking a greater risk in providing the internship, and it might be advisable for us to look at reimbursing the business just as the state law does, just to carry it to a post-secondary level instead of a high school level. Still provides the same experiential opportunity for the student, but I believe you may get more businesses to participate and provide that experience to these students. The student would still get paid. I mean, under House Bill 107, the business only gets paid to the extent that they pay the intern. So it's a reimbursement to the business for taking on the opportunity. Some questions I have.
I have a question. So that would take out the administrative costs for the middle entity?
Somebody would still have to determine which internship
Okay.
programs would need to be offered in the program. The bill is actually very short. I actually read the whole thing since I was sitting here, but I didn't see how that was determined. I think they just leave it up to their OBM to determine, or economic development. I'm not sure who determines which businesses would apply, but it's something to explore. And since we're still sitting in committee with this, it may be advisable to look at that. The questions I had to do with how do you define a small business as an example. In Jack Schron's world, I believe a small business is anything under 50 million. In Chuck Germana's world, in my world, it's our businesses. So, and our businesses is me. So I think there are some things we need to further discuss. For example, one question: does this tie into a major? How does a student determine which opportunity to explore, or are they just exploring any opportunity because it's available at the time? So if somebody's undecided, that may be one thing, but if they're a pre-veterinarian major, and there's no veterinarian program offered, but there's one in insurance, so they take the insurance because it's there and they can get paid for it. where you're not really matching up the degree with the internship opportunity. So I'm just throwing this out there. That's why I came to this meeting. Well, number one, I had something on the agenda, but I wanted to hear more about this. But looking at House Bill 107, I think it may serve as a model for us to continue that opportunity and into the post-secondary world. It meets our charter requirements as well. And if you want COSI to participate, I think I heard was part of the discussion, not being a member of COSI, but understanding businesses like COSI, they would be amenable to participating if they knew that there was an opportunity for them to offset some of their cost, because there is a cost to them, not only a hard cost of wages, but an opportunity cost to encourage participation. Just some thoughts from District 1.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I really like the sound of House Bill 107, and it sounds like an excellent program. And I'm certainly amenable to discussion on the actual mechanism. But in this program, I had in mind to do something a little bit different. I'm thinking more in terms of giving students who are closer to the point where they would be out in the world seeking full-time employment the opportunity to apply skills that they've learned in the real world, as opposed to it being more exploratory in nature. And I think the idea of building a series of specific projects around the type of things that small business need gives us the opportunity to make this useful to both businesses and students. And I do think that if you operate closer to when students are going to be out in the working world, that it's more likely that relationships are going to develop that will lead to full-time employment. And while small businesses may have less hiring capability, I think in the small business environment, the intern is more likely to have some direct and personal interaction with the leaders of the business and have opportunity to develop some relationships. So I just throw those thoughts out there for consideration.
Madam President. And then-
I still continue to be vague as to what the work product is. We talk about this project, and what is the value now? I got a stack of very literary papers on obscure areas of American history that were work products of, various, actually I'm producing another one's even more vague now. But anyway, I'm just concerned. I really like the idea that Greenspan is talking about, where you actually do the hands-on, you're actually working at the business. And I'm confused about what we're producing here. Do you just produce some study and you hand it, okay, here, Mr. Jermaine, here's a study that you can, okay, thanks, and it gets stuck somewhere?
I'd like to take a shot at that.
Okay.
The idea of some projects where you produce a plan for a course of action is certainly one type of project, but I think that's only one example, and I think that businesses often need to improve their website capability, which is something that these students coming out of college may be very capable in doing, and that the business may not have time for, and the same thing with social media development, and there may be a need to both develop and implement an improved program for marketing particular of their products. There there may be needs to do a financial analysis and analyze who their customers are and what opportunities for sales are out there that the business is not taking full advantage of. In Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, there's a section where he develops a grid of 4 squares, and one is things that are not important and not urgent, which you shouldn't spend any time on, and things that are not important but urgent, and you end up spending more time on that than you really want to. And there's things that are important and urgent, and of course you have to spend time on that. And then there's this quadrant of things that are important but not urgent. There are things that could really expand your capabilities, that could take your business to the next level. There are things that businesses wish they had time to do, but usually can't find time to do them because they're taking care of what's urgent and important, or even what's urgent and not important. And so the hope is that we could develop some projects around these opportunities for the businesses to not just expand their production, but to expand their future capability. And I think those are the areas where I think the projects could be designed in.
A think tank. I
Yes,
envision a think tank.
In my view, it sort of resembles almost a consultancy.
Right.
But it wouldn't be a consultancy focused on a specific issue. And the other question is, in terms of just working at a business, one of the complaints that interns have is that they do the intern work, which is making copies or getting coffee or all of those things. And this would specifically focus those students' efforts on something that is instrumental to their studies. So an accounting major might work on a project for a manufacturing firm, but in accounting. So they would be working on an accounting issue. And so the type of work that the firm does doesn't matter. It's more important what the project is. And they could have that as a feather in their cap as they go and look for jobs later, that they worked on this project for this business and it was successful.
Okay, thank you for the presentation and the ideas. Any other questions? Okay, so I think what we'll do is bring this back again and maybe, I don't know what, in the meantime, give us massage. We'll get some concrete, maybe real world examples, if any exist someplace. Okay. So if everybody's satisfied with that discussion, we'll move on to the final portion of our meeting, which is public comment, I believe, not related to
No
this
one is
agenda.
signed in, Madam Chair.
Okay, no miscellaneous business, except just as a footnote to Sustainability Department. We're going to be looking to create a description of what a director we would want in a director of the department. So I'll be working on that and disseminate that to committee members and council. Okay, so meeting's adjourned. Thanks.
On time, under budget.